다예 드린데 트래픽 din konda de gara environment to chigmarwe. What's the traffic? The environment to ba. The environment to garjase the yawa chengmendo.
Chiba.
Mare topic ti.
Topic ti. Ale the environment koryugla Q-sharp rawo. Q-sharp da 가tuk zik 가tuk이나 Q-sharp 세기도.
Oh, okay. 그러고요. 안드린데 딱 마시네 딱 니마 가시에랑 아주 까메 저 계절 마우 시에스브레 드레인 뉴스 망부지 남사 망부지 아 쉬야 스메베 소스 루스도 다디 다마시 디린디 수슬이야 제림디 닌타마르 차데도 산이네 안바 롬바신다 드라레
And the theme of this afternoon is the respect for environment. And generally, I have talked in the last days a lot already to this theme, so there is not much more new that I could say. And today is my last day of my travel in Switzerland. Tomorrow I will go on to France.
안에 드린 뉴스하는다 드린데 좀 지린들이 싫어합니다 그래 네 그래 다디 쿠유 스마베다지 마시 땅아랑 슌디 계속 사서디 안에 다 벽이 롱바 국교를 지제 드레인 주사는 아니 모던 디벨롭먼트 서머베다지 근데 딩두기지 야게르 다 자완에 메스라노 드리어레 드리지기 롱바지레 깨브레 안드레인 주사는 아니 벽이지 수균기 초와 섬으로에 수균기 초와야 지 냠수 영하게 뒤주 중세를 충분해
Concerning environment in generally, I am really living in a very isolated place in Tibet where I was born, and the region where I can say that nothing of what exists today, all the progressive objects and things and machines and things that we have in the modern world. So I was really in this very traditional way of living in Tibet, which was really free from all these modern technologies.
런중기 쿠류리아 지통 첨부 선화다도 90 선화다도 딱한다 통지 런중 쿠류리아 지통 첨부 시다 치그레스
And this traditional way of growing up in Tibet is that we were really the nature and the environment, we were really appreciating it very much. We were respecting nature very much. That's a big part of our culture.
Living systems and that on the touch nirjibachita and the energy Sada energy Flamula saw that the Derushi Mambuchi Nay Evertosi, Tindiji, that's something got it.
So we think that, for example, the mountains, the places, that these are living systems, that there are many deities, gods and goddesses that are living in these natural places.
사무주의 대바티 바지 다지 아주 게르바 섬르다지 수균도 초야 철이야 지 초와 개용의 미두 상으로 디기 띵 사버지 소르고야 버르지 근데 통도
When we see this from one side, maybe this seems to be very blind faith, or maybe a strange way to look at things like in this way. But on the other hand, we can see that it is a wise method, in a way to bring respect to the people. The people have very much respect in this view for the nature and the environment. They have really a strong link and connection with the nature that is surrounding them. And this for many, many generations for these people who have been growing in this kind of traditional way of looking at things, this traditional culture.
biodegradable laumade karadi chene dinde gyanggang chene andi kini plastic kini de thwa yo ma kini sa ba chi kini lu sa yo ma re ane kini yo ma re dinde yin zang di azu phayu le chi su da plastic package che sha ba de jala de le en du san kuzu di kini di kol gozo marta kanju manju yuchi kanju manju yuwa de chojin kuzu gozo mar kharasa namju azu sugyun chowe na lo le ya dende kini de ko yu sha na ko reshi me ba cha ji cha dende de bi samlo ko che kuzu di kin gi ko le ya kuzu gozo mar.
And in my homeland, home region, at my time when I was living there was no plastic garbage. There was no plastic garbage at all. All the garbage that we had was biologically can be eliminated organically, so there was not even a garbage bin. There was no garbage and no garbage bin. Only later then there were arrived in this region some plastic wrappings, and it was being thrown out in the nature everywhere, because before everything was organically dissolving in nature. The people didn't understand that with plastic it doesn't work in the same way.
Und genauso auch die Dinge.
And also the things, the objects that were used at home were objects that we were using for the daily life. We needed them. All these objects, like TVs and all these things, they were inexistent in our lives. And what I see here in the Tibetan culture, the way Tibetans are living, there is this principle of having little desire and to be happy and content, and I think this is really practiced well.
Dieses wenig.
To be content, to be happy with a little, to be happy with small wishes. This is really an important practice in Buddhism.
총화 대줄이야. 라버도 저도 총화 대줄. 에네 두중 초시 된 거를 그런 초화 계단데 두중 초시 시리아는 거지. 드디지가 토한다 초화 계고 여브래.
For example, especially the monks and nuns are ordained people. They have this practice of a little desire and contentment. This is a really basic and general important practice for them.
rābdhū chūngē nān pēnā rābdhūng nālāw lēyā tā jī highest samarwa tā jī Kurāng dōmbar jīma sōn dī rīmbar tōshū dī lēyā gēlōng tā gēlōng mā sā jī yōndī gār.
So when we talk about ordained people, the highest ordination then is the fully ordained monks and nuns, bhikshus and bhikshunis.
Bhikshu the bhikshuni 사디 칙원에 대 벽에는 교비입니다. 저 롱아 바사로 롱모 롱겐도 지 고야라스 롱모 롱게서 단도나 장본도 지 베거도 지 고야라스.
When we understand this word in Tibetan, gelung and gelungma, when we translate this, longwa means a beggar, a useful, a good beggar.
Pena gelong rishla da beggar leung do lomo leung do sana ti yawshita yamarwata ji yang pebale ya ji yang di debashita yusmane. 제자 배배 로자와 대주기 에네딜이야 칠 디스 넘베스 겹체 개와롱아스 개와롱모 장게서 하듯이 다가다 개와사르바 퇴퇴와 겹셔지 마도 빅추사데 오늘은 롱모 장게지 고라스.
Then
the word bhikshu, bhikshuni means then a beggar, but because in Tibetan the word beggar is not seen as a good word, we have to to feel shame when we talk about a beggar. So the translators have translated it in gelong, which means a beggar of that which is holy, which is wholesome.
다 세네로 토슈르 대차래요. 다 디밍 세밍이야. 다 로모아스라요도사 다가랑기 가르쳐다지. rāvdu chōng tsōwa dī dūchōng chōshē rāv, shīshā rāv chī, yīmbā chī, dīndi chī tōng tōg rā sāng
tōg. So these vows of a gelong and a gelongma, the fully ordained monk and nun, this highest vows of these ordained people. So the word is really a beggar, and this means that the fundamental practice of this gelung and gelungmas is to be content and to have little wishes.
Today, you said that gelung chigi Quran karshwe Quran ke ta napsa sa marwe ta thulo sene da do ta de zo de da chö namsum sa to syon de orba de da chö go de zo rebe inna re son da de la lemba ja go ra lemba ja da de lemba ja ne ene thama de ko melo war jab samre ji da lemba mo ja da thama de 야 건도 미루원 로지 드리지 차연 뉴스안에 아니 디지 레디소 지와 가쇼에 지 치다르단 기지단 조스 장마서안 근데 비슈단로 다 대양 아니야지 타마들이야지 가쇼에 셔게 주게서 말바다지 tum부로 차소나 다데 지 직배 나로를 참점 직버들이 개주산에 직버를 샤라던 주산에 디 나로래 안에 바 룩체 레드 디 나로지 직버를 샤라던 알을 붙이지 근데 쟤네 엔다 베데 무투니 배주단 촐라만 로지 근데 쟤지 로스에 대비해서
in this way the robes of a Gelung, a fully ordained monk. As there are 3 Dharma robes. So when one of his robes have a hole or broken, then they will be repaired with a piece of cloth. And when they're really getting old, after a time when they have lots of repairing pieces on it and they cannot wear them anymore, then they will be washed and be used for other purposes. And also when this is not possible anymore, then we will use them to repair, for example, holes in the walls. So this is the use of old, worn out robes. And the basis here is not to waste anything at all, so that we take use of everything as long as it exists.
Anich gergi sonjo chesho mara tawa gergi tadi nguma kishe do dan debe nizuri ma dada de jigal yo mara ta ine ji sonjo gergi personal de sonjo jike mise ta size chanta chema shobrushi chadi yare 제자 급디 두산 뒤에기 베네지 벤조르드 상물로 다tin 산업지나 socialism 스물 지소를 노도 socialism socialism
socialism
디 지소를 노도 스타트 리식 제제 아니 집에기 견두질을 표시하거든 아니 집에 다보자마도 배주 당마도 계획이 배주 동초만에 안다나 신지 다들의 개발도 긴dü를 표시하거든 긴dü를 배주 동거래 안지 상계를 표시하거든 상계 시체도 배주 동서마로 들이쳐오래.
Also, this was at least like this in the older times, maybe today not anymore, but the monks and nuns should not have any personal belongings. The socialism was actually really mainstream, so generally we were authorized to use things that were belonging to everybody, but we didn't have any personal private belongings in this sense. So from the Sangha and the Buddha, they were living like this.
Sangye di gindyung de Sangha tinde da karshura ji kandas la da jingyon karsa de jingyon karsa management mayimbe de karsa ore administration do tinde ji Sangha ji system do de swanam de ene tabena chochikne koram ene karshura Sangye koram ta ji chungdu gese che gebese ime indusane administration lobjong chawurba tini tinjega thwane kada ji rabdu chung the system shibuji tembo chi swana ngaros ti gyunzen la tene ane ji gyagalya jingma ji phaji ta thurub thi kawlya phaji ji university samarba ta ji da te kijamen chi su ta ji nalanda sa da bikramashila sa tinjega ta university somar na sho lomnyon chesa sula lomnya ka tinje mangbu chumbre ta phaji kap thidu jane zombuling galya university nga sho chi cha de yusre ta tinje yong kwa de zo de gindyung gi de horanji temor shye che an dana singi ti gi an da ji karshura da ji economics samaro ta ji benjor ko jodan de samlo ta sevachi jinzu sevachi insan tinde ga thwane ane university ma wo ji yong a ta tinde pigen ra ji gyose zo ji tinde cha de ya ra tinde shenye de yong de
as the Buddha, the administration for the Sangha has introduced administration for the Sangha because Buddha in first part of his life in the first years of his life. He was a prince, and through that he has really brought a lot of experience in concerning administration. So he has really introduced rules and administration for the ordained Sangha. And later in his life, then came, later in the tradition, there came these big monasteries like Nalanda, Vikramashila, that were the first biggest universities of this world. They were the first universities of this world. There were places where the Sangha was living together. This is why also there was a special system how the finances were ruled, administration was handled. So this brought up rising of all the big monasteries.
problem 가라산다 집에 베나 긴두지 체도 다 망보지 표로 봐. 대지 개보이네래 다나 신기 다지당게 미만 규만 된데게 다 긴두지 체도 망보지 표현도잖아. 다데 남산남산데 배주 동초고 말아 다 집에 체도 되게 샤제. 되게 제마도 미게르게 배주 동안에 갈라 가버 자리온 제산다베 huge summer 되지 베나 가르다 전으로 지 방전으로 지 시비 여자 이 고마침부터 지나서 저 여아서 다 집에 채되게 여러 인도산 아니 치수 아니 가지기 마의 야가리 연주산 안 당부 공부도 지나 친세 아니 공부도 주 도르좀을 제제 가르선 디나로 다 시비 규자라로 시비 여러 인자 되게 상황으로 좋아지
There were also, on the other hand, there was a problem that arose. Then there were brought a lot of offerings from the lay people, from the kings, and then the monasteries which could not be used. The monastery were not allowed to possess something. This is why they started to build these treasure chambers in the bigger monasteries. And then later, when the Muslim wars happened, then they attacked the monasteries first and destroyed the monasteries. And they saw that in the monasteries there were many there was much richness. There were these treasure chambers.
information and the theory is daji sheje da kanda ji research sheje de ta je karshu chumje tene azul information mo bu sta te yare in information da ji knowledge ji bi pen to mindos lebe na lo le ji ju sha de ji bi pen ge mindos kande che jang azu ji lebe nang ki ni zu de ji su su gi da ji 오늘 지금 샘토를 냠len 차래 바 컨디스 교화동 트랜스폼 가지 쳐과데 이 개첨부를 차대 도스.
This means that today I would like, because we talk about environment, I would like to talk about this contentment and to be happy with little desire, to be talk about the contentment. In order to protect and respect nature and the environment, today we have a lot of information through the scientifics. They examine and observe everything, so we have a lot of information, but only to have information in our brain, this is not helpful. So we have to see what are we doing with this wisdom which is in our brain. How can we bring it into our mind, heart, and also do something with it, transform it in order to become active on the basis of this knowledge.
energy ecology the theory but this uta alaba dana sing chulu da uti sananda spiritual leader inji da ji chulu ba sanda ji spiritual leader su nyamdo lega cheje 진짜 토하네 간다지 지금 아주 구육 내된 들이야 편유 침배 토하네 아주 가수에 순급체 돼야지 용거래 삼바를 지든지 미만배다 저와로 이체 용딩가
So I think it is important today in today's world that the scientifics which are examining nature and environment and also the spiritual leaders that they really talk and work together, so then we can really be helpful for environment to see what is harmful for environment and what can we do to protect environment. I think this is really something which is concerning many people.
참sam질 랭귀지부터인데 가서에 demonstration부터 제 나나 신지 미세다 랭귀지부터 배 들으셔 봤음시 펜타요 말에 구유디 다 구유기 가서 내된디 아주 니머지기 미세나로 수 초와게당라 소부터 내가 토네 에너지 거랑 가서야지 교환도 가서 뒤토네 에펙트 용되게 여비 인두스네 뒤균전되네 아주 그 순규비지 않고 줘야 돼 수수기 니머지기 초와게당 삼동당 되네 고주제 제과지 뭐지 동교래
When we for the well-being of our environment, for the protection of our environment, when we go to demonstrate, I think this is not very helpful. Then there is no special demonstration which we could make. I think rather in order to protect environment, we have to see how in our daily life every day, the way we are living and our art way of living, which effect it has on an environment. And also I think in order to protect environment means that at any day of our life, in each of us as an individual has to contribute, so we have to change our ways of living.
드레이두상 아주 남준 지 체리비 시작 measurement 다나 신기 지게 장가를 든데 망부지 시에 그래서 되게 상황은 아주 맞아 그 뒤에 이제 레벨 나눠 주대 마도베 등원의 전에기 텔레덴체 지 소수 지 원의 전에 셈랑 구교를 대체 그리고 지금 토안에다 motivation 지금 안전 액션도 사버지 렌트하디 참석 가보죠. 그래서 땀 많이 지립게 시야 많이지 같이 다는 체제 시기에 인도서 다 되게 생각해 가보죠.
And this is why when we have so many informations, when we have so many numbers and statistics and knowledge informations, this is all happening on the level of the understanding in the brain, but it doesn't mean that these informations land in our hearts and that we will change our behavior. This is a difficult thing to do. Most of the scientific observations, examinations and numbers are really focused on exterior things and don't produce any inward change.
Smoking,
Smoke, cigarettes.
다 담아 대한으로지 차시면 다 배순직 쳐래. 다 담아 뉴욕에서 도망고 장문을 잡자체. 대점도 맞으면 타마 고란 태양 타마 감중디 간리아 에너지 워닝 제제 와 년가요 레스다 리템비나 년가요 레스다 든데기 이기티 삼삼 가시라 빠르자르 디르라메리 쳇와 또 맞다 제가 지 워닝 제 다메리 지 다교라 가교 나교 가르라우다 지 남도 잘 살라버다 딱 간다지 담데 찬로레스 지금 뭐 지네 근데 그 탱게 되게 왜 모두 텐데 아마도 디술레 미세 즉 도나로 되지 되게 들려 인포메이션 되게 도네 거기 심 그거 모티베이션 해야 돼 삼서 가보지도
So, for example, when we take the example of smoking cigarettes, then it is always, we are always told smoking is unhealthy, or on the package of cigarettes it's written smoking, all kind of informations there, smoking kills, or smoking is not good for your health, and there are also these horrible pictures. So there are all these advertisements, all these informations and warnings on these packages, but finally it does not make a big effect on the person that is smoking. The smoker just continues to smoke. So these informations stay on the level of the knowing, of the knowledge, but don't really help to change something on the level of the mind.
Ignorance 말하면 머리가 되지 툭다는 취해네 슉치다는 취해지 이제 툭 시에신도 사대한 소리지 다 든지비지 용대가
So our ignorance in us human beings is sometimes so strong that we don't recognize things the way they are.
드니 인도스탄에 안다지 가르에 the spiritual samarada jing tradition 대수단 다나지 나초에 시에리아기 아니 제가 주지 굴론선에 장도 딱 간다고 내가 가르치 제비미나 되지 굴론지 제수 쪽에 인도산에 딱 굴론이야 지 도난자다 아니 지 굴론이야 소주가라 야게 동야 대 개침부지 시과 금전지 되지 토대유스.
So I see that what is in the spiritual traditions and also in the Buddhism, what is explained when it is talked about motivation, whatever we do is following our motivation, should follow our motivation. This is why I think it's very important that our interest and attention is really focused on our motivation and intention in order to see how we can improve our intention and motivation.
다디나네 당기 권수변하시게 단 류중 초시에 니여베 인도산에 다디나네 초시에서야디 류중레지 초시에데 다 개체로 자리 유스래.
When we then talk about contentment and little desire, these are 2 points. One of them is the contentment, what we describe as the contentment. Contentment is even more important than to have little desire.
다디 또 내가 추원해야 돼. 양코디스 가데 김생 가라서 내가 추원해야 돼. 내가 추원라를 말은 내가 매발라요 말았어. 조진 데래. 다는 내가 추원 근데질은 내가 추원해서 그래서는 다데 가버스도 왔잖아. 내가 추원해서도 내가 추원 체르디. 다 가버스도 와. 가지고 내가 추원해서 주산. 다 근데질이야 내가 추원을 체르비스야 돼. 가버스
And we talk about having little desire or small desire. Then when we look at this, examine this, then that means, of course, to have little desire doesn't mean we have no desire. But when we ask ourselves, what does little mean? What is the measurement of this desire? How can we measure when is it much and when is it little? This is not easy to define.
밥에 주시 말해. 오늘 장가고라 제로지로. 다 맞아. 지 마샤 버리 밥에 주시 드시에 커돌이야. 아니 초시에 돼. 조를 쏘지. 지 조응에 연설기 초시에발라 소바다 추고 년wen적이 초시에발라 소바다 망부 소유두산 다디 촉시에디 개체버 샤디 유사라.
Und deswegen
This is why when we talk about the four noble vows, then one of them is the contentment is something very important. It is one of the main points, the most important point of these explanations.
Contentment.
Contemplation.
Satisfaction.
Contentment. Wow. Contentment. That namjun shede contentment sadi natural resource. That natural resource doji. Resa ji da yondi orba. Da diru cheche. Ko choshe yebi na ko ranshingi da ju ranshingi ko resource yede. Choshe mebi na kadu ineji 만당와 르시당 가두 이내지 대바마가 가두 이내 가세 유네 대수지기 아나 진 대바마가와다 만당와다 에너지 마조반으로 들지기 삼과대지 어디 유스래.
When we have contentment, then we have, of course, all that we need. All that we wish. That means we always have all the resources which are complete when we have contentment. When we are lacking contentment, then however we will possess, we will never feel that our wishes or desires are fulfilled. We will never come to a point where we can say, now it is enough. We will always have the feeling of lack.
다이네 참섬디 참섬지 상로망보다도 도르도르 로녀를 치거든. 드린두스단에 다디 참섬 드레 상로마다 치지 오늘 고랑 가수라다 지 고물을 겹제. 안다지 가수에 데바다 마음베지 데베 제미지 마음을 뉴모습 제제. 안 다대기 가수에지 내가 가수에 내다로 가려요. 뒤통을 봐 갑자기 변해서 우기 교화로 들지래봐. 삼다지 제비네 안치고 contentment sadically 용토야로지. 아주 용서를 삼 도스정도.
Here concerning this, there are many philosophical explanations and background or proofs that we could explain, but sometimes it's like this: the more we explain things, the more it becomes difficult to understand it. So here when we can recognize that in the meditation, don't follow the past, don't invite the future, stay in the here and now, in the situation here and now. When we practice like this, then we can really progressively contentment can arise in us.
Happiness summer that derivative. That's 가르다 강가 매대버지 직든지기 지 초아 지 샘콘 취스머로 다 늘지 전화 버지 연디 알아 가시질. 근데 이제 커둘이야 아주지 지 가르다지 우 중물이야 샘대제. 근데가 토하네 안다 검잡이 뉴스네 마시 가상의 쉬변한 시래 오늘 지금 디 저기 다다란 유해돼 버리지. 다 가다가 아주 우야 동네차. 우 동안 매비나. 안 가매된 거 shadow. 다디 우디야 지 저런 일이지 빈거 말. 다디 왜 추준이 유접시. 안 다지 다 베베게 지시하는 샤마숨 제 주주다 다지 망부지 열었다. 다 간다 가리님이네. 든지지 아주 우기 좋아데 반 맞게 버려. 두스 땅고 말해. 때 바로 맞춰 봐디. 다이네 팀상 뒤줄이야. 추디조 공부를 차. 추 장마도 좀 녀고 그래. 안제마다 우디조 쪼바차지. 우에 녀고 개요나 하고서 말았다. 우디조 옥시젠디조. 마시데 캐나다게 우 장마 oxygen의 제네 야나라 중국어레스 데지 가셔야지 데지도 가셔지 베이징도 와봐 지 pollution 수치면에서 옥종 지가어레스 다디 oxygen 장마도 다 가시다 아버지 하고서만 다 가르쳐요 간다르 제네 말아줘 데지 바르마 제바 동고야래 다 대야 소술래 정신기 유예되지 말아 다디 실론 지 지신나자라 소바 대존 주 용과야지 차려야래 다 진짜기 컨디션디 가두이네 지 유예 버르체 드림이 뉴스 때문에 전에 제비는 아주지 지 하내거 항상 거버서는 다 간다 원저게 봐 근데지 차려야 드림 뉴스 뒤교서 다 다랑게 거지 삼불 땅비미네 때 갈아 간사로지 초시 버르지 이층 버르지 용토를 삼정도
Sometimes when we feel a bit helpless or when we think we don't have anything or we feel lost, when we in this moment remember to focus on our breathing, on our inhale and exhale, and meditate in this way as it was explained yesterday, then we can really see that to be happy, the happiness is really something directly accessible, directly present when we concentrate, focus on our breathing, when we breathe. And then when we stop breathing, then our life is finished. So we have to inhale, exhale one after the other, this during 24 hours a day, 365 days a day, and this without any moment of pause. And when we see this, there is a lot of problem with clean water, and we have to buy clean water in bottles, and maybe one day we will also lack clean air, and that we will have to buy oxygen. There is already places in China and Peking that are selling fresh air from Canada. I don't know exactly how they do this, but anyway, we have to breathe without any pause, and when we focus on our mind or let our mind rest on the breathing, then we can see that the air that we breathe in comes from outside of us and is produced by the plants and trees that is growing in the environment. This situation is really something very astonishing and very wonderful. When we concentrate and focus and see this, then in our mind there will be more and more growing contentment to feel happy and wondrous about this marvelous situation.
다 뒤주만 셰 다람 살아 되게 알아. 참접 딜릴 연구하래. 아 딜릴 거두 요네 네바르 차요도. 딜릴 거두 요네 질 마디아르 차요도. 디. 다 저진이 블루 마라 나라 찍진이 가랑 나랑 노주주지메다. 지 나라 센시티브 블루보디 센시티브 알레르기 쳔버즈메로. 남주 딜릴을 매 삼서도 가셔. 다 딜릴 리두스 거두 요네 마디아르 차요도. 제자다 수시리아 가산 레듀스네 다 신다 가마진의 수시기다 지고라 남시 장마를 지어버지 컬룽 당장으로 지어버 인두사네 다가랑기 고라 다 디기를 지다 다가랑기 지 오네 지깔라 이쯤버를 되지 신다 가면에 다가랑기 다 디스원서서로 지든지 용것도 제상 딘디지 삼담이미네 그라 초시에서야디 요아예 되지 되지샤
Normally in my situation most of the time I live in Dharamsala, and sometimes I go to Delhi, and normally when I go to Delhi most of the time I get sick. It can be because of the pollution of the air, but also because my body is very sensitive and is not used to this unclean environment and is dirt everywhere. So, however, as I came to Switzerland for the first time a few days ago, here in Switzerland, the air is very fresh and pure. Everything is really clean. So the air you breathe is very clean and fresh. And this only gives me a sense of feeling happy and to feel content and happy and without the wish to possess anything else. So this feeling of happiness can be given immediately to a feeling that everything is correct and fulfilled. And when we think like this, then we can really generate this contentment in ourselves. Here, of course, you are living here. For you, maybe it's nothing special, but when you go to Delhi, then you will understand me.
Chikare lunga de sem ne su me che che de ji pa ji yongre sam chang do de du sam sam ngui gi ngona ne khare ni su le di excitement sananda do yana desire di shu che yo ro pe zhen ru shu bi na pe na nam gyu nga su da dinner samar gong da khala se go re nam gyu sa di ga de mi se de le excitement ke mi se de ke yo ma re da ine cham jang a ja nang be che shi du san gon chi de khala sa me se ji or ba pe na ge nye de ji na nye ne go dong ba len be ko ni sha ji ge dong ba len de che be ko ya chi de khala sa jo ma na da ro du shong de zhong ne chen de chi de khala de sa jo da de xian nga zhong sa da yu shu de da ge nye de xian ga sa re genye de zo sta di nisha ji ge dongba lendu tene chidu kala sa cho ma chidu kala sa ma jo di tene ji examen leng do chidu kala sa me du sa da chidu kala de kan din sam ti ko la ji sam lo ji ko de ya chi examen du chi ngone class sa du sa ne de shida ha le as ke me de nge ru chi koran di the normal rules there. There's nothing special. That in a excitement, the and can Koran Kala only the leco excitement the shukers. Shimbaruchi, Shimnarchi, Shimburji, Saruchi, Danji, Mambuji, Tamarushi, that tribution on the door. The needles that teach you then attach about the excitement, that push treasure, that under or listen, Nesum Havrushi. Deji yondi gare lusim ngesu me bache tan dona ngesu me tu che yundu sane ande diki ha sa de khao shu ba kar jigi che che yundu sane anda ji kar so ko tar dil me bi yundu sane da jigi che ta kana shishi bado ane ji che yundu sane shigla le digi ma jong che kala khao che tendershi
when we have a lot of desire and there's a lot of desire and we follow the desire, then of course our body and our mind will not find rest and peace. It is difficult to relax our body and mind, and when body and mind don't find peace and freedom and rest, then it is also difficult to feel happiness and to be content, to feel contentment. Normally we all of us eat dinner, evening meal, and this is not something special, which this is not something that is special because we do it every day. But sometimes when we do special practice, for example, the vows of the lay people, then it would say to have one meal per day, then we would not take a dinner or evening meal. And normally with the monks and nuns, it is like this, that they would never eat dinner. But I don't want to talk about this subject, because otherwise we will have to feel shame. But when we talk about the practice of the lay people, when they take these vows for one day, then they shouldn't eat in the evening. And when we do not take an evening meal, then we get a little bit excited or nervous, and we start to think more than when we eat. Then it's not very special to not to eat, but when we don't eat, then we feel a bit excited about this, and we think, oh, how nice the evening meal is, and how nice the taste of the evening meal is, and then we have all this desire coming up to have this evening meal, and then it's this our mind and body which don't come to a rest, don't feel peaceful. And when body and mind don't come to rest and don't find contentment, then don't relax, then there is no happiness. And when we live our lives like this until our death, then we will never find happiness in ourselves.
수수 룽알이야 루심니리아 녜소데 수수기 컨트롤 체제 다 녜소데 수수 때 녜소데다 마지 수술 때와 다 계속 잘해요 그렇습니다.
So then it is important to understand that the desire never finds an end. We have to decide to have a measurement through the contentment, to say it's enough, this is enough. And in our body and mind, to let our body and mind rest and decide for a measurement of what is enough, so that we can improve and feel this contentment.
So living style din gua toa la choshi jibugi choshi jidande shizaruti mongshi de gua de keshimur choshi jibugi and gua toa nuba. It's not enough somewhere. Not Raji Nuba Dangishavers, Yunga and something.
But in order to change our living style, then even if we see that contentment should be the foundation, only to practice this contentment is not enough, doesn't have enough potential and power to change our lives fundamentally.
Und ich denke, was wir
I think what we also need is also to renounce the renouncement, that we turn away from our desire and from our attachment. That is very important.
Very hardship sumarvetaji. 오늘 제가 갈라하버지. 지다음에 제가 갈라하버지. 다 이내 드린 데 시야고 아스케면도. 다 이미네 되게 principle sumarvetaji. 인종의 시야로. Principle the maji the share to send to
when we as the Buddhist scriptures tell us, we want to free ourselves from suffering and let go of desire. I think this is something a bit more difficult, but I do not want to address this topic. I just want to talk about the principle of letting go, of releasing, and of letting go. Just want to address the principle of renunciation.
Social being realities are 가서 지속 수행자 대마서도 가서 지속 수행자 대마지스도
social reality.
다
reality.
Reality? No. Kanda ji jizo nalo le ya pena ta ji kashwe. Ta kanda ji lao ta ji pui nan de ji ingo re sta. Ta ji jizo nalo le ya ro de ji de sa pui nan de ji ingo re, pomo nan de ji ingo re. De mi na ta pu de ga pom de karo 자기의 마자와 그런지 데 거체 말롱을 치 보면은 이제 인거랬어 아니 잘안 되고 알아 부인은 이제 잘안 되고 알아 보면은 잘안 되고 알아 지지 되고 알아 피되고 알았다 체 체시루지 선한다다 지디 뎀버르지 지조난 야 쇠셔 뎀버르다 지 중국어 봐 다들이 셴두산 이제 근센테네 강갈로지 지기지리아 가수라다지 디긴 지den게 디지 가르르다 근데 쇠샤 델이야 이체로 제제다 로고야 또 차리.
So today there are these social realities in the society. For example, to be a man, you have to behave in this and that way, or to be a woman, to have to be in this or that way. And if you don't do, then you're not really a man or not really a woman. And so when we are a man, we need this and these things. And when you are a woman, you have to behave in this and that way. And you need this and that. This is really a kind of laws that are intrinsic laws, because we are living together. Then most of the time we don't have choice, and we have to live dependent on these rules of the society.
야, 응망아 당보 야, 용도 딜리 용도 뭐라 들어방고요 말아. 뭐라 시다요 말아. 아, 딩상 거와치네 트래픽 잼 루체. 아바도 딩상 가르사. 가서 안라데 가서데 지 차다야. 오드
La.
odd and even car number Japan three andra ya yebden rocho sani cha yebden rocho jiwa England jiwa
loso.
naso da angye semo zhe da de industry ne system de sueshare da tando kala khabuchigare ji 5 million cars somewhere ji DRS Dililia. Adando Nima Tabarishi and Morasaba Tonta Shing at the Morasaba registration. Chigaras Morasaba Dark. Young TV. I did do some things in Moranachi or Moratani or Dilidani. Hockey, more than the Mount Karchen and more than the Mount Charles.
For example, when I came to India, in the beginning there weren't not so many cars in India, but today there are daily traffic jams, and there was introduced this system that certain car numbers are allowed to drive on certain days, and on other days the other car numbers immatriculation would be allowed to drive through. So this is to get rid of the traffic jam, but this come with other problems. In Delhi there are 5 million cars, and this means that also daily every day 4 or 5 new cars are registered. 4 to 5,000 new cars per day. So I have asked one day when I was in Delhi, I asked a Tibetan driver, why are there so many cars?
Tati susu ki neighbor kimse tegi moraji nyöza. Tene susu ki ji manyona jigmentus taji nyogotus. Neighbor di ji nyogo yebdinza, ane susu ji nyogoros chiaje. Ane gali cheche, tsamo nyode yoros.
So he told me, because when the neighbor buys a car, then oneself has to buy a car as well, because it continues like this. When the neighbor buys a car, then oneself has to buy a car, then one day after another there are new cars coming.
즉 제대교에서 내가 지지 수수chen 다 ignorant 줄 차지 다 간다 수수 릭더니에 대 상부 남주 배제 마당체 아니 고랑 디기 가르쳐 지 칠로기 예 가르쳐다 지 가르쳐 칠로기 안다지 슈겐스 뭐 디슈 왕도 친체 아니 고랑 로데야지 저대요 제자들의 인중의 현로사데 진짜 왕도 마땅치지 수수기 외에 따지 가서에 수수기 다지 남주 배수 단체 수수의 능력이 요하체지 다 간다 수수 랑가데 수수 담차 톱단다 다지 진짜지 누바된 거래사지 드시셔.
This means this is the situation today, that when one person does something, then we have to follow up, we have to do the same. So instead of using our own intelligence and wisdom, we just follow in an ignorant way this system. And we are under the influence of these external influences, circumstances which decide about our lives. So when we talk here about renunciation and letting go of desire, then this means that we are not under the influence of these influences, but that we have the intelligent wisdom to choose our own way, and also the right to choose our own way, and to use this right and this possibility to decide our own way.
Reality when in the meaning the energy social reality teliaji kajongaje but what you may tombe tone and suzuki dendun 최고하디 랑이 dendun 최고하디 개침을 차려.
So is if the social reality see that it is not really a reality, it is more like a lie than a truth, so that we find and choose our own way, which is fulfilling for ourselves. So this is important.
랑가디 아주 상마 집에 간 로로 아주 상마로 랑가지 간 로로 랑가지 간 로고도 산에 되는 아주 강에 태워다 데 뭐라 가져다지 그뒤에 트래픽 잼들 차지 되네 갈라하고 차려고 안다는지 pollution 담아 붙이 차려 제가 디균센데네 디균센데네 딱 간다 상으로 되지 가져에 덴덴디 수수응외네 가져에
Like in this example with the cars, when one buys a car, then we also have to buy a car. Then maybe we don't need to, it's not a must to buy a car. It is our decision. It is in our decision to buy a car or not. But when we have bought a car, then of course we have no other choice than to drive on the same street. And this of course brings upon the traffic jams and also air pollution and environmental pollution. And this is why it is very important for ourselves to decide what is good for us and what is good to do and what is good to leave not to do.
가서 나로래 아주 tumbu체네 산한다도 냠도 내과디 개심사대요 이내야 다지 덴바 가서에 이내야 땅아 왜 니줄 가래임바 대양 아저기 ignore 체샤는 그 말봐 레인두산에 대균선대네 안다간다지 덴바 최야 닝도당 안다는 신기 탁주 로 템포 주고 하디 계속 있어서
This is why when we say we have to live in this society because we want to live or we have to live together, we have to adapt ourselves, we have to be in harmony with others. But even if this is so, then we have to ask ourselves, what is the reality of what is important? We have to see what is happening really, so that we can take the right decisions and to know what is right to do and what is not right to do. That is important.
다 드린지 애티리아 지 체리버도 지 드르지 드르지잖아 딱 이니 냠도 바뀌지를 시에제 안 두주디데지 가르쳐 파시아지 주시아지 드르지 안데 두주디 아버지 로트사서 땅아 미지 집에 다나셔베 다다바도 지 암체劝点点给那些자자자자자劝点点给那些谢두산 다 그냥 저 지금 녀위기다 그냥 녀위기래 내 인두산 나라의 녀고도 다 그냥 아들지 오디언스이나 야나 니니에데 사례 야노 마치로 된 로사래 내 인두산에 땅에 마무시다 슈미 다 디젤이야 아주 좋아 들리는 저리 입에 라세
So then
저리 당분이 제사시
So today, when today here there would be a scientific here with me, then we could spend the time more easily. We could discuss and have a dialogue together. The time would go much faster. But that's not the case. I'm here since this morning and until now, and I give Dharma teachings and teaching. So I don't know how it is for you, if it is boring for you. But in my case, I start to be bored. So if I were in the audience with the listeners in this room, either I would be sleeping since a long time or I would have left for a long time already. But today it seems there are also some questions which have been prepared, so we go over to a sequence of question answers.
Yes. 다지 쏜다.
인지게 돌아.
당아라니 낭주에 제나 가래. 간절히도 지쏜다.
인지게. So it says.
So the question is, what are practical solutions in order to protect our environment? Should we stop buying cars, for example? Should we eat less meat, for example?
Solution. That practical solution that's dangi karjuchi tsiri bena gejigi zamni gejigi United Nations that de thwana practical solution. Deji yugirba. 다 되게 되려 돈한 생활을 제샤 다이네 다 초전이 셰비미나 아주기 답대로 셰비미나 엔지 가르쳐다지 말 뉴스다 아니지 가르교 만저를 체 근데 셰비미나 된데 지 가르쳐 다 초진 땅 아주 말바 삼던두사 망부지다 지 잠닌지 내가 돈을 셰기 알아대 야 초진이 대삼도 마세베 야지 쿠유가 돌이야 티 개바지 전부 쪽에 또 시에 인도스탄에 티 균zen 돈에 아주 드리지기양 소소 개개면에 드리지기 decision which lem비미나 아버지야 맨로서
First hand, when we talk about practical solutions, many scientists say there is no international solution. for the whole of the planet. But on the other hand, when we try to keep it simple and on a personal level, then it's better to live on a vegetarian diet and eat less meat. So, for example, when we leave the meat on the basis of compassion, but also meat has a really negative impact on environment, and this is also another reason, a good decision to let go of eating meat, or at least eat less meat.
Die Frage ist,
the question is, Your Holiness, I am vegetarian, but I have to buy meat and cook meat for others. How can I do it in a wholesome way? Or transform this action in a wholesome action.
So reserve the jimda all as well. I think artists gonna do
ist etwas schwierig für mich.
This is a bit difficult for me, this question.
La.
No translation of the jokes in German, so.
And there is Susilia Yonra Charda.
I can, of course, you can cut the meat yourself, but of course I don't know how to cook. But so then now everybody knows that I have no idea about cooking. I don't know how to cook.
Lerne ich dann später.
I will learn that later in my life.
Cheese to a good cheese to a Harsa Timin.
Fondue.
Did I let our shoes that?
Fondue?
Fondue, I think, is very easy to cook, to do.
Did let our shoes. That Delia Chidangi and Shadi Golia, Shuvimina, Chidangi Kashudaji, Nambeton Shevimina Sangi Jumden de that Sheshun, the Kapti Dusane, Taji Kapti Taji Nambe community, some Labardo Rubjungi, Energy, Sobiana Lolea, Sha Betty Guy on Mane. Yan Shatang, Yan Shaka on Marcedizan Kashigi. Yambe te shak bedikaya mari ne shat le kura ji khashe sa cho khashe sa me cho ta dion di are ti na ne ya sha ri ji sa me cho ri ji ta ri di kare namsum thabe sha sa ji she or ba namsum thabe sha sa de kare sana ane rang gi che du se sha me ba ta dona ji rang gi che du se be seven was my tongue bata, and my dear by somewhere that on his top of me, that did which he shaji, such waters. And then I think up to do Sane, Yanju, Nede, Usun Simple Mahakashapa, Marwe Mahakashapa, this Shachumindo Kashegi, Tisan Karla Watersana, and it's shadi, Namsum Tabe Sha and the Injimis Towers. There Masana and Legion do you channel this. In this Legion, you Sangelia. Legion mean Hazata. Devadata.
Devadata, also.
Devadata gi, the channel is called Devadata gi, Sangelo Moguich Hachedo, Kurt Tim, Surtu Koranki, Koranda, and Koran Lomatis Tim Sueje. And the Sangi got a quarter matis Shasa orders. Not to Shasa means that. 제제 되게 목욕 남주르 댄스 제가 제가 디상 가시 들리스 요래 샤사오레스 남선 답에 샤사오르 마도 남선 답에 샤마세나 데와다다는 차로레스 리시오다 데데데 인스만 니데 위송집에 샤스 주고만에 데야보레스 상기 데바나도 다 니라 드리지네 다 티고 침비께서 티고 침비께 전에 다 간다래야 수샤 서면 샤뚜베 걸이야 지 숭아로 되는 대안도 동샤근데 보디사도 캠보 보디사도에게 동샤가 제베 나로래야 에너지 상기기 체험부터 다야지 숭아로 되는 대야요라서 이 숭아데 게 마부 체인데 녀마서 캠보 보디사도 동샤 잡아나 녀마서 아 간다래 이제 숭아로 되는 대연세 샤도베칼 칼라스베 갑든데 숭아로 되는 데 제비네 야지 오늘네 다시 심진 신데 다 남유인비네 대랑와 몰람 칭게 꼼보레 심진 신동에 대해서 디체도 사마동게 꼼보레 다이네 디체도 가서 몰람으로 지게 뭐와로 제투네 오늘 야보레 삼정도 드린 주사네 다 드린 숭아 지당 숭아 가는 되네 개바스케야마다 이 미세냐 상기 체인으로 된다 미세기 숭아로 된대야요 and today I can't do much. The way I will get some trouble.
So when we talk about meat in the Buddhist tradition, what the Buddha in his time, to his living time, said, or the instructions he gave to his ordained community and his community, he gave them the authority to eat meat. He didn't give an interdiction to eat meat, but he said there are some sorts of meat which we should not eat. Meat, for example, from which we know or we have a doubt or we have heard that it was killed for ourselves. This is the meat that we should not eat. Mahakashyapa, who didn't eat meat, but today also there are people. Then at the time of the Buddha, there were the nephews of the Buddha, Devadatta, who also to his students, in order to say something against the Buddha, to demonstrate something, to be in opposition to the Buddha, he said to his students, you have to be vegetarian. Today, people would say, we have to eat meat because otherwise we are students of Devadatta, but that may be only an excuse to eat meat. Other people say, when we consider from the Mahayana perspective, I don't... when we have to prepare meat, then there are specific mantras that we can recite. We can recite the names of the Buddhas, different names of different Buddhas, and there is this recognition. Khenpo Shantarakshita's teachings, and I have really tried to find these teachings for a long time, but I haven't found them. But there are also other secret mantras that we can recite. Then, for example, when we eat meat, then it would be good to do a prayer of wish for the animal that we have been eating, when we can then make a dedication prayer for these beings, then that a wish prayer for these beings, that is very good too. And when we want to recite these mantras and names of Buddhas, and we find them, when we look for them and find them, then recite them, then I think we can do something good.
아니다. 다도 뒤주마무도 주주 제가도
뒤세도 So die Frage ist
So the question is, our root guru Tsawel Lama has died, is it necessary to find another Lama, or is it possible to continue to practice on the basis of the instructions of our Lama without looking for a new Lama?
이 좋아데 가라 양 좋아데 규로라 녜 조메게 던 주벽에 규고다 나 드링드 다디 다 가라 자외기 자외라마드 총송스 자외라마 다 코란스에 코란이나 모라이나디 자외라마 총송스 안드리 자외라마 다 총송스마다 자외라마 총송 라야마다 자외라마 공부 조송스 안드리 유산에 안다 자외라마 공부 조베 인자 디기 제 조베 제려야지 라마 신다르 덴체 자외라마 신다지 덴체 드리 쳐오래다 야나지 자외라마디 셴 마세베치지 응아르게 자외라마디가 당와 나샤바디 아니 무투이니 냠레 챤네 데나 드그레스 드립시
His Holiness has translated this question in Tibetan for the Tibetans in Zurich.
Aus dem Deutschen.
So yes, I have translated from the German.
다 되어야 다 가늘라고 다디 다디 두어디 유규 첨부를 노다디 그래 das absolut 첨부 채고다
Das ist eine gefährliche Frage.
That's a very dangerous question. I have to be very careful. The tricky question.
지당기 가르쳐야지 다 자외라마 사야들이야 문진체다 민자르치 용데도 다 가르쳐 문진체다 somada 자외라마 사야데 지당기도 미실이야 그러마 라마 망부 용초를 전제다 대바톱에 지 라마 망부 용초래
Allgemein.
In general, there are different ways how we identify our root Lama. One person can have many different Lamas from which one receives Dharma, or with which he has, or for which he has devotion. One person can have a few different Lamas, have few Malamas.
규번 저민기 라마데 규버찌기 인거야 말 규번 저민기 라마데 추균 저민기 라마데 요초래
can have different lamas. So in the same way, it can be lamas from different transmission lineages, or lama from one transmission lineage. That's also possible.
별 간증이 정기 지 베네 템베 서던게 게 기부 담바도 상월로지 지 리미베게 딱 간다라 라마 댄체 리미베 지 담베게 최 senjo nasha dinde gengarap chadiyare
all great masters which have restored the teachings in Tibet, in order to do that they had to have different lamas from different schools without being a sectarian, so they received teachings from different lamas from different traditions.
라마 망부 주변에 나네 지 오늘 다 라마 참삼 라마 망부 유디야 참삼 금시우스 작도 지 라마도 주야지 라마를 레스토랑 유디스나 다 가리 가를 년고이나 가를 년고 마야나 삼로지 들지 망부 주요한데 알아 제자도 들려야 지 자야 라마 사디 다지 수수기 지 대바치슈 근데 수술이야 지 그린 치슈로 근데가 라마 딱 가다 주 수술라 지가루에 지 제외 차는 저바 치슈로 지 드리지 라마디 다지 라마 쪼르 치체 수수기 딱 갈업 슈스난다도 람데 슈스스난다도 이제 라마 쪼르 치대 대야지 여베이면 땡과지 버지 저거라
And one can have many lamas. Among these many lamas, we have one main lama. Sometimes it's also like this, that when we have many lamas, we can get confused, and with different lamas give maybe different instructions. And however, mainly we have, most of the time we have one main lama, or we call it a root lama. That would be the lama for which we have the most devotion, for the one lama that we find the most loving towards us, so the one we have the strongest connection, and our love and devotion is the most profound. That would be our main or root lama.
구썸버를 진지인 거야. 스페지 매외서지. 양해는 됐으면 지 라마 진지래 이미냐. 랑게 자야 라마 매바치. 수수 대바치부터 예위입니다. 근데 매바치지. 순대를 채든지 제위입니다. 아니 제수 증기인지 근데 셰지 셰는데 뭐 보여래. 링 비슷한 디규젠데네 아지 수수에게 다 너는 자야 라마 수이민사데. 다지 소소를 바지 마치 소소를 라래 되베 소치 마도베. 다
In the same way, the root lama, the main lama, does not have to be a living lama. It can be a lama which has already passed away. When we have deep devotion and confidence and love for this lama, and we from this devotion and love and connection we pray to this even passed away lama, then there would be a transmission which can happen. There are many stories that tell about this. And when our root lama, who is our root lama, this is really dependent on ourselves. It depends from ourselves. It's really the lama for which we have the most devotion and love.
야, 내가 아직 가라로서는 아 저전에 아직 수술 자라면 공부 양에 대 사위입니다. 지단 될라 지수술이야. 아직 냠내게 토안에 지 강해로 체든 제위입니다. 저전에 수련대 지하라서다 아직 드리 지하 연구를 아 저진에 지 라마티기 자야 라마티기 로메 조왕 다 계속으로 드리 예위입니다. 디군düne 아니 당화 휴제 아직 가서 드리 쉐위나 하고 뭐 저거래 나는 신기 야지 라마 신기 군düne야 참석지 강해로 드리 체체위미나 홀 남들 쉬는 저거래 다 임변에 조드지 소수에게 따지 가서다 따지 셈기 대사로디 안제 자라마로 지 셈기 대사로 디체제 드리지나 봐지 저번에 something.
But when our lama has passed away, our root lama has passed away, then we have difficulties maybe in our practice. Then it is good to try to find and connect with a living lama, or if the root lama has a regent or a main student, then we can receive instructions, deep instructions from this regent. In the same way, when we have difficulties in our practice, or when we have difficulties to find new lamas, then we can ask new lamas to new lamas to help us. But the root, the main lama that will be in our heart would be really our root lama would be in our heart. So even if we have other lamas that we will meet, then we still have the connection to our root lama, and this connection will be very important even if we have other lamas that we find to get instructions.
다 여보 맞이하는 매주 저러서다. 매주 저러냐도.
제가 대상 코리 앞에 두차 쳤는데 근데 양해를 하고 차야 내가 아이 나나 스미 마루데 제복이 안나 근데 거리 나가 자야 돼 내가 아이 나나 Die Frage ist,
the question is, Your Holiness, do you think that the planet Earth can recover from all this devastation that humans have made on it if more people start to change their behavior? Then do you think it is possible that Earth will recover from all the destructions?
다들 저와디 저와스마로 다지 쿠유디 코르도르도 조여비 인자 안도 간다르지 아주 삼로지 아술을 삼동도 매비네야 요아동도 매비네 전중 쿠유디 코랑 아주지 요아동 아르지 삼성 아주 응 삼성 들테네 당 아주 왜네 전신 요아동 사다 가고 싶으면 다이네 쿠유기 요아동인데 아주 요아 마루라 주시거든 아주 좋아 말으라 주지. 안다지 드린두산에 디토안에 지 참섬 지군에 가주래. natural punishment, some natural disaster punishment. 근데 지 참사 근데 지 총나마다 아주 좋아도나도 디스칼라가 버리시면 로섬 나들 정도 다 이내 땡땡 지 고랑 가수르다 지 하르라다 이내 아주 상물로지 가수에 구유기 균도사다 야첨부 쉽시 전부리 야첨부 구유 균도 야첨부시라래 야첨부 민주사 람상 아줄이야 초아요한테 지 가수에 깔아 가버시도 드린주스 임비내양 안 참여기지 아주 베게라 티버사비 자수사야죠 봐. 이 티버산. 근데 자수처부 차도에 있는 신기. 근데 제장 아주 참여기 아니 미지ring 거를 제제. 근데 지금 매주지 제비입니다. 땡땡 이 펜터요. 아래 이 펜터 예비 아주 벤슨 지 example 다 망보지 용돼요. 아래. 드린두산에 딘데기 토안에 아주 참여 심쇼 맞아 시작하되 개첨을 했음도 아주 미ring 거를 참여했던 시도야지. 가르에서나 아주 가두이네 지 government 지 슝드지기 다지 다주를 지하지 근데 지 국지 대비나 안 가볼까 company다 government다 지주기 직책을해서 전에는 가라하버래 government company 지준 좋았다마다 때 가솔을 알래돼요. 배낭 아주 잘라 뉘에베 걸로 이미네야 등산 당과에 지 고유를 뇌경 용아 딘데기 지 고유를 지 가솔에 지 tumbuyewa dindegi ta ganda jalarwa dinde nyuhala soba tandona ngazu damga cheba digi kuzuliya affected burbishi decision maker zuli affected bchade kechbrishta mendo so tustengdu
this hope to know of the earth being able to recover.
wenn wir nur
If we only hope, if we ask, is there hope, can we hope that the world will recover, then this will not change anything. This only will not change a thing. So if in order to change something, the earth environment gives us more and more teachings that shows us that we have to change something. From inside out, it is very difficult to change ourselves, but if there are more and more natural catastrophes as a kind of these catastrophes, which would be kind of teaching that would say that we have to really, it's a kind of punishment which would say that we really have to change our behavior. But when we see the planet and the environment is very broad, wide, and to change the whole environment of the whole planet, that's very difficult. But we have this Tibetan saying, which is saying when we one drop after the other will fill the ocean, or one drop after the other will make a hole in the stone. So if each one of us makes an effort, then this will definitely bring a change and bring be useful, bring a change to the environment. So if we wait for the governments to change something, or the institutions, or the business that they will change something, we can wait for a long time. So I think we ourselves have to be an example, show the example, and from our mind take this decision that we as an individual want to do something. So when we wait for the government to change something, when we want the government to change, this is also in our hand. For example, there are many tools and objects which are less destructive for the environment, which are less harmful for our environment. So when we change our way of consuming things, then this will have a change. It will make a change also in the people's minds.
좋습니다. Dona ta dari karwe ngaju susiliya an thoma yongche an je da jin zerim de samlo paji tiringin jugdiwe sorse chaso an ring ju sane dari gogob de dyunche ngaju ta jin zerim program digital ya lega chini ko chari chini an ji 내가 칭해 뉘는 여바다 갸블 여바다 참을로야 두시 쉬아이
I think we are coming to an end of this first visit in Switzerland, and the program comes to an end, and all the ones who in the front and also in the back have been working for this program, have been preparing this program. I would like to express my gratitude, my thanks.
안다리 가수에 지게 매장소 킹그레 다지 유럽리아 개가 망부여래 개가 망부여 인상 안에 다리 토마체비나 베는 벤잠레 큐즈 드라이어 체비 벤잠 다이네야 안에 개가 망부차요 뉴스 깔라 카브르스도 드네 뉴스안에 안에 가래 뉴르다 벤잠디 제만 드라이어 투스 체브레.
And we all, as we all know, in Europe there are many countries, and was asked to go also to Belgium, but because there are so many countries in Europe, it is difficult to reach them all or to go to visit them all. So it would not be possible this time, but hopefully and later in a later time.
럽디스안에 엔데 가왕엔 조이 가왕이 제일 조이 미참에게 당봉 아주 잘 여러지라도 이 당봉 아주 잘 여러지 나 미지와도 매자 데 당부 직친의 예업지를 줘도 말아다 뒤지레베 근데 내지 참만 줘도 매자 다 참자 갈래르스도 근데 네 비자 안다리 수질이야 마시고마 로 ngadu ngeni ju susi ya chadi chasan cheje ta den direjliya drama to bre and den hindustane ene karshwe antari yangar ene maji susi ya yoaji nangorum chela azu tuju zor kyba den kona zu ta 우주를 침박해서 내 체인자 안다리지 가르에 용도로 충분해 근데 이제는 조디다 고난속이 저리 나니에서 저리 고난속에 우주를 겨자 알아야 되버죠 뭐마지 팅지 로토요 말에 디가 우주 침박해 되듯이 되잖아 안다지 에다 수시 라다 보디 수시리아 라르시 이제르시 만두랑저럽지 서버다 밀레 바뀌지 쉐두산 다 만들어라로 차서 그냥 좀 공부 못 좀스 안 내가 수시를 돌아마다 용서 말했어 드르 제제다 간다 저도 총소 인두산 다리 고급 둔제 안에 나고를 무시 다나신 아주 된주의 상황을 도치 쉬어이
And sometimes I find some difficulties. I feel a bit stressed because in Europe many countries request me to come, all say, come to see us. And of course this puts me in a difficult situation. Then I'm only one single person and I can be only in one place at one time. So it makes it difficult. And this time, so I came to Switzerland, and actually 5 to 6 years ago I was already invited to Switzerland and everything had been prepared, but finally I couldn't come. I didn't make it. So this time the fact that I could come is mainly through the Namkar Rinpoche and the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Switzerland, which have really insisted on me coming to Switzerland because it had already been prepared in the past. So they really insisted on the fact that I would come. So this time it was a bit more easy to decide that I would come to Switzerland, and I hope the others will not be upset about this. So this time it's the first time I came to Switzerland, and so first I want to mainly thank the Bureau of His Holiness and Namkar Rinpoche.
아니, 단도나 나 베니스 저주도 용도산다 로 주시래 안디 두산다 저주 용과 금생으로 조디 다가다 지게 롱변나로야 지 장황 거는 지 주교차 지 지게 롱변나로야 예데베지 라마나부 소이네래 다나지 초보나부 소이네래 이 비미 소이네래 다가다 창으로야 장황의 데베고 투제를 쇼나서 데르르 지 전지 조로다 데르르 지 군으로 되는지 계시 하는 표현이 도수죠. 주주의 용벌에 다이네 야할레베 슈글레데 지 삼된도 케알이야. 지 레라버로 좀 마셔지 안 다다보다 주주 망고 싶지 고도 세브레 드링 두산 디균센 때는 딱하다 깔레르 지 강에르 가지 좀버 대주지기 쌈을 촌하로 채용도 안데 인두산은 들이 대 용도 좀데베 마랑게고네냐 촌하 띵 사마르지 시라 총수 사마르지 근데 정도 안데 인두산에 안데인데 요아디 요아체 에는 아주 대예베 뷰리 만조 저 투야게 고급 총부대 엔 가버시라 총수 엔 갸 사마르야 가수니 아니 마음바리 야네야도 말아줘 지 도제 용토다 말아이네 대주 야네야도 용토야 라와르시다 들이 비지르지레 자와사버지레 아주 사월지 르르지엔 도야도다 직들이자 고급으로 시작 총마서 이게 마음바리야 야네 아들이 쳐다 로이게 나는 좀 아주 대예에 지게 저거들에 나는 총탁하는 배대에 주 초는 배대에 미 상물로 이렇게 상물로 도시에서 그런 제 슈아인
And if I resume, I can say, as I came from Tibet, I have been escaping from Tibet as when I was 14. The main reason was that I was hoping that when I live in a free country, then I would also be able to go freely to abroad and travel to other countries to meet the other lamas living there and Tibetans and friends who are living in these free countries. But now then when I arrived in India, I firstly had many difficulties. I was not able to travel to anywhere. I always had big hopes that it would work out, and finally that the fact that I could come here gives me a very strong feeling of happiness and contentment, so that this time also I could meet the Tibetans who are living here. This is filling me with a big happiness, joy, and I hope that we can meet again and again. And even if this time I was really busy and we didn't have time to be together in a relaxed way, then I hope in the future I will be able to do that. And also my other Western friends who have come here, I would really like to thank you very much, all of you, express my thankfulness.
달로 조로 지도 오네 배주 조로 지도 제자다 제 엔다는 아주 레공 거봐 가산 교지 자고 충분해 네 지기 오늘은 지 주규 리메이크 안 긴두베게 여베체 안 다는 신기 별초의 좀 순교 토알이야 차례 안 다다보도 오늘 로마 버진이야 차례 나지 아버지다 중사 대래 투치 쉐이 나 다는 신가 주지 지주 줘봐 지금선 동아리 또 쉬어래 고난 주임이는 오늘지 지 템바다 템발이야 샤신 다 라삼 전부 여비지 도스레샤 안 다는 신가 주 대여비지 베베기 아주 다 지조로 지여비 인도산다 미 동작하시 지여비 인도산 이 그냥 상으로 아니 가르에 다 야보시다 도스 라고 말하다 지 가이 오네지 수수이네지 셈바 법게 버르지 도삼 정도 다당도 모티베이션 초지는 아주 다 수스 아참 장참 수스련 예비체 안 표현당 배지 타르 무르지 장타 최세 타르 무르지 대야래 네 이내야 안 표현의 예배지 필리핀의 제 안소리야지 레와 레웨기 미그루딩 아소리야 당시 예배 인도산에 디균센데네 아주지 에네 수수 포유 마제비지다 안 표현의 예배지 빈의 제기 지 디도 마제버를 드리지 토하네 그냥 사람 모두네 심주 맞아도 시아시스 도시야 도시
In the same way, a few days ago I could visit the Rikon monastery, and this also really filled me with joy to see the work that is being done there, really in the spirit of Rimoi, the non-sectarian movement practiced there in this spirit. I really also want to express my thanks for that, and also to the members of the Sechen Chokpas, who really are serving the teachings and pure motivation, and all the Tibetans that are here, the community of the Tibetans. There are many thousands here, and one must say that you are really all good people. Although you are living here in Switzerland and living far away from Tibet, I think it is important that to know that the Tibetans in Tibet have placed their hope in us, that we are acting for their well-being, and that we don't forget the Tibetans in Tibet, and that we do not forget their suffering, and also try to really continue to act for their well-being.
So, Your Holiness, as President of Rigsinn Switzerland, main organizer of this event, and in the name of all of us here, I would like to thank you for the inexpressible blessings that you have granted us during these 12 days in Switzerland. You have taught us the depths of Buddhism in a way that was at the same time profound, easy to understand, and with sparkling sense of humor. As you mentioned it, we have prepared a very busy schedule throughout your stay in Switzerland. And because we did want to make the best use of every minute of your presence for your first visit of Switzerland. So I think we almost succeeded to do so. You have kindly agreed to visit and bless our Dharma Center, Tekchokling, in Lausanne. You gave public teaching and empowerment in Geneva, gave a conference to medical students, and participated in a dialogue with scientists at the University of Lausanne. Then on Tuesday, the 24th, you have visited a Gelug Dharma Center called Tuptem Chamsenling near Bulle. Then we crossed the Röstigraben, which we call that the gap between French-speaking Switzerland and German-speaking Switzerland. And we arrived in Bern, where you were welcomed by Alexander Chepet, the mayor of Bern. You also visited the Rigpe Dorje Center at the House of Religion, where a large amount of Tibetans came to welcome you. You took the time to bless them all one by one, and it even seems that some of them came back 2 or 3 times to receive your blessings. Then on the 25th, at Tselingpal Den Taksham, which is Namkar Rinpoche's oldest and best friend in Switzerland, organized successive visits to Padma Medicine Institute, Rikong Monastery, and the headquarters of Rokpa Humanitarian Association, all in one day. Then at the Kameha Hotel, you have met a number of groups and offered them your advices and blessings, and only to mention the major ones, it was Tripchit Sorpa, Kunsan Dogang Ling, the Kagyu practitioners of Switzerland, both Tibetans and Swiss, the Tibetan Youth Group, Tibetan representatives of every canton. You have also visited the home of His Eminence Kyabje Shiwala Rinpoche, where you could see all the spiritual treasures of the Taksham tradition. And finally, this weekend, you gave us public teaching to over 1,900 people. Yesterday, during the free teaching for Tibetan people, I better not mention the amount of people there was, because that was way beyond what the law and the reason would have allowed. So at the end, I did take the time to make an estimation of the total amount of people that you have blessed and taught during those 12 days. And it reaches an amount of around 7,135 people, which gives us an average of 594 people a day. So you said it was your dream since childhood to come to Switzerland. On our side, it has been our dream for over 6 years to welcome you here. And finally, thanks to the close collaboration and hard work of Kungo Ngudrup Dorje, representative of His Holiness Dalai Lama in Switzerland, Ringu Tulku Rinpoche and Namkar Rinpoche, we have managed to make this dream come true. And it seems it was also the dream of the entire Tibetan community of Switzerland and of many, many Swiss people to welcome you here, as so many people have gathered everywhere you went. So as we were preparing your visit, we heard that you expressed your wish to meet with many Tibetan people, as Switzerland is the oldest and most important Tibetan settlement in Europe. We have organized this event in close collaboration with Mr. Tenzin Nyingpo and Lhaning Pema Tsering, President and Vice President of the Tibetan community, in order to ensure that you could meet as many Tibetans as possible. And I believe in that point, your visit was a great success. So our hope and prayer is that this would be the first chapter of a long, long-lasting connection between Your Holiness and Switzerland. So we believe you can help preserve and establish the pristine tradition of Tibetan Buddhism and be the spiritual heir of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who has himself constantly maintained a very deep connection with the Tibetan community in Switzerland. So as organizers, we are conscious that we have given you great hardship during your stay, making you very, very busy. We only did that trying to fulfill the thousands of people who were eagerly waiting to receive your blessings. I hope that you still enjoyed your stay in Switzerland. We promise you that next time you come, we will keep some quiet time for you to enjoy the Swiss mountains, Swiss cows, and Swiss chocolates. So as you said yesterday, that if you would come back, you would be scared to empty Nam Karimshe's wallet. But please, we are ready to open and empty our wallets again anytime you would agree to come. So please come again and again. We will all be waiting for your holy presence, like thirsty people craving for water. If you can come back even this year, it would be the best for all of us. If not, please come whenever it is possible for you in your very vast activities. We will be ready to welcome you anytime. So before concluding, I would like to publicly present the budget of this event. Between Geneva and here, we have sold a total of 3,050 seats, including 69 sponsored tickets. This gives us a grand total of 431,000 Swiss francs of income. And I would like to use this occasion to thank all those who bought sponsored tickets for their important contributions to the event. So the total expenses are not completely fixed yet, but they are now estimated to just a little less than 400,000, so around 398,000. The main costs of this event are the rental of the teaching halls with technical equipment and staff, the conference rooms at the hotel, security, decoration, mandala offerings, transportation, food, accommodation for all of your holiness and your entourage. So that leaves us with an estimated profit of 33,000 Swiss francs. Out of that, we have decided to offer 10,000 Swiss francs to the Tibetan community of Switzerland and Liechtenstein to support their activities for preserving Tibetan language and culture. Then we will have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to gather all the unexpected bills and finalize the budget. And after that, whichever profit there will be left from this event, we will not keep anything for our Dharma Center, but we will offer the entire amount to Turpo Labran in order to serve Your Holiness's activity. So finally, I would like to express my gratitude to His Holiness's sister, Chamsema Ngudru Pelzom, and to the entire entourage of His Holiness for the great help that you bring for all His Holiness's activity. We also would like to apologize to Your Holiness and your entourage for all the shortcomings in the preparation of this event. Sometimes events were prepared too short, sometimes too long, and you have very patiently accepted to follow our entire schedule as we have prepared it. I would also like to reiterate my gratitude to Kungo Ngudrup Dorje, as you are holding the seats of representative of His Holiness Dalai Lama in Geneva. With great kindness and in harmony with all, you have been really showing great respect for the Dharma, and you truly managed to separate the Dharma and politics. And it has been an immense pleasure to work with you, and we hope that you can stay as representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama for a long, long time. So special thanks also to the translators, my old friend Palen Dorje, Markus Rodemeyer here on stage. I was very proud to see you here, and you did a very great job. Thanks also to Nathalie Bourquin, who translated the English in the cabin. I think you both deserve a very good round of applause for your wonderful work. I would also tell our Chinese guests that we're sorry we could not prepare a Chinese translation on this event, as it was the first invitation, but we will surely make sure that we do so for the next visit. And finally, I would like to thank all the volunteers for your work, security officers, Herr Spüller, and all the staff of the Stadthalle. It has been wonderful to work with you all. And finally, thanks to all of you who have come here. It was a great moment to share these blessings with all of you. There is no word to express the gratitude for the opportunity you have given us to humbly contribute to your ocean-like activities, especially on this blessed month of Sakadawa, in this blessed year of the monkey, the year of Guru Rinpoche. Thank you for the blessings that you brought to the entire country of Switzerland, and with folded hands, we beg you all to come back again and again to our country as soon as possible.
Eure Heiligkeit,